China just said the two magic words that changed the course of Bitcoin's price for the next 100 years. We also have just some big things changing in the US in regards to Bitcoin regulation. The Federal Reserve actually just talked about Bitcoin, and the OCC talked about Bitcoin. We also have Vanguard calling Bitcoin immature and saying it has no inherent value, yet they're actually the number one holder of MSTR shares. So let's talk about all this. If you don't mind, hit subscribe so you can see future videos just like this. Also, if you want to trade crypto, I just made a full video explaining how to do this, a 27-minute video explaining what I do, how to do this efficiently while keeping, fairly safe and while making a lot of money. You can check out the link underneath the video to BYDeFi, and then I'll put the video on the end screen as well. They have some big bonuses going on right now. Also, BLOFIN has big bonuses. For another 15 hours, you can share up to $4.2 million. You can also win a CYBERTRUCK. So check that out. There are also links to Weeks, which has a big event going on right now too, where you can share up to $900,000 or part of $900,000 by trading over there. So lots of different exchanges. I talk about lots of different exchanges because everyone likes different UIs and there are different things that they offer. So definitely check those out underneath the video. Now, Bitcoin is around $119,700. The bears are coming out here calling for a top. Yet when you look at the crypto market, compared to the historical trend line, we're actually still undervalued. This is into the cryptoverse. And it shows that the historical trend line would put us at an undervaluation of about 10%. Now, what am I talking about? I'm talking about this. Over time, crypto becomes more valuable as there's more adoption and more people buying. There's more money supply. So yeah, Bitcoin looks sort of undervalued compared to historical trends. And so does the whole crypto market cap. To be fairly valued, we'd be sitting over $4 trillion, which we're not there yet. We have seen some crypto liquidations over the last 24 hours. It's almost $600 million worth of shorts liquidated and about $230 million worth of longs liquidated. China, though, printing another $700 billion US dollars. And this is just crazy. Take a look at this chart. Where is it? Right here. M2 money supply has predicted this pump perfectly. It looked like we were becoming decoupled. People like to look at this. It's the Bitcoin versus Bitcoin's price versus the global M2 money supply, and it's offset by about 80 days. And it generally stays in line with the money supply. But it seemed like the money supply jumped up and Bitcoin didn't really move. But then we saw a $10,000 move by Bitcoin over the last week, or over the last 4 or 5 days. So it's coming back in line with the M2 money supply. And the crazy thing is, both the US and China are looking at printing money, significant amounts of money. Those are the two, obviously, economic superpowers in the world. The US hasn't even started cutting rates yet, but we have passed the big, beautiful bill, which will print trillions and trillions of dollars. China recently, just last fall, unveiled game-changing stimulus. I mean, listen to what they're doing here. First of all, they cut the reserve requirement ratio. Okay, that basically just means that there's more liquidity in the system. But this is stuff that everyone was, I think, kind of surprised by if you even knew this happened. China lowered mortgage rates on existing home loans to a level similar to those of the newly issued housing loans. I mean, imagine that. Let's say all of a sudden the Fed cut rates. And they said, okay, we cut rates. You can get a 3% mortgage. And everyone that got those 6, 7, 8% mortgages, we'll just lower them for you. We'll come in and print the money. We'll lower them to 3% for you. That is game-changing stimulus. I mean, think about how much money that makes the average person. If you have a $300,000 mortgage and you go from 6% down to 3%, that could change hundreds, if not $1,000 a month. So that was kind of crazy. And then they also announced the central bank is creating new monetary tools to support the stable development of the stock market, basically saying we will buy stocks if they fall too much, which is just insane. And there's a lot of other stimulus too. Some people are urging them to just literally hand out checks like we saw back in COVID. So the U.S. is more worried about debt and saying that we need to cut rates because the debt is too expensive. And trying to grow out of the debt. That's what President Trump has said. Like, hey, we're trying to get GDP over 3%. We want to make a lot of money and have that be how we deal with this debt issue instead of like cutting back, which could cause more inflation. But China is saying, hey, our economy is pretty rough. We're going to try to boost it by, all this various stimulus. And how does that affect you? Well, it causes scarce assets to go up in value. In a world of, ever printing money or more and more M2 money supply, what do you buy? Well, how about the one thing that can't be made more of, right? The one thing that is set in the supply, which is Bitcoin. Obviously, Bitcoin has been going up in price. People are paying attention to it, starting to pay attention to it. But there are still some haters. Vanguard said Bitcoin is immature and has no inherent value. They said that in the past. And actually, I was just looking over some CEO interviews. And depending on what you're looking at, the CEO explained it, the prior CEO explained it as, hey, we don't offer gold, we don't offer Bitcoin, they don't produce cash flows. Vanguard, just in general, has kind of changed the game in the past because they were one of the first companies, if not the first company, to offer low-cost index funds, which is very helpful to a lot of people. Before that, you were paying a financial advisor 1%. So they made this a big deal. They made this something that a lot of people wanted. They brought a product that kind of changed the game, and yet they don't see what Bitcoin is yet. They don't understand Bitcoin. And it's just kind of funny that they're buying $9 billion in MSTR. Of course, they'll say, well, it's in different funds that we have. But yeah, they'll buy a company that doesn't provide real cash flows to get exposure to Bitcoin. So yeah, they own about 10% of the company, 9% of MSTR now. So they do kind of have exposure. Well, they definitely have exposure to Bitcoin now. Keep in mind, too, that their ETF, their top ETF, VOO, now makes less money than IBIT does, BlackRock's ETF. After just a year and a half of being on the market, IBIT's making more money than VOO, which is just incredible. The Federal Reserve and U.S. regulators issue a statement saying that banks are now allowed to custody Bitcoin and crypto, basically just reaffirming, yeah, you can do it. We'll approve of it. It's not against the rules. And you can see just regulation improving and just more clarity on regulation as well. Of course, this will be a big week for crypto with 3 different bills that could be passed that could help regulation with stablecoins and fostering innovation instead of just destroying it like what the old SEC did. So overall, a lot of stuff happening. IBIT, we'll see the inflows in just a few hours. They had a lot of volume today, a lot of volume traded, but yeah, based on what they did the last few days, we may see another $1 billion day from IBIT, just snatching Bitcoin off the market. So yeah, don't be worried that Bitcoin's down $3,000 from the peak that made this morning. If you've bought any time before the last 24 hours, you're in the profit. You've made money. So yeah, I think we're in a good spot. Let me know your thoughts on all this underneath the video. Again, if you do want to trade Bitcoin or altcoins, this is something that I love to do. If I want to take extra risk in the market, I open up leverage trades. Instead of trying to go find some small altcoin, I'd rather open a leverage trade where I don't have to do a ton of extra work. And I use low leverage, so I'm not at a huge risk of getting liquidated right away. I can always add more margin if we do go down 20, 30%. And this has done really well so far. We've been able to make life-changing money. So I do have that video explaining how to do this, how I do this on the end screen. So check that out. Check out BY DeFi underneath the video or BTCC, BLOFIN, BitUnix. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.